Text 11, text 11 today. Yatanto yoginaschainam pashyanti atmani avastitam yatantopi akritatmano nainam pashyanti achetasa. The endeavoring transcendentalists who are situated in self-realization can see all this clearly. But those whose minds are not developed and who are not situated in self-realization cannot see what is taking place, though they may try. There are many transcendentalists on the path of spiritual self-realization. But one who is not situated in self-realization cannot see how things are changing in the body of the living entity. The word yoginaha is significant in this connection. In the present day, there are many so-called yogis, and there are many so-called associations of yogis, but they are actually blind in the matter of self-realization. They are simply addicted to some sort of gymnastic exercise and are satisfied if the body is well built and healthy. They have no other information. They are called yatanto api akritatmanaha. Even though they are endeavoring in a so-called yoga system, they are not self-realized. Such people cannot understand the process of the transmigration of the soul. Only those who are actually in the yoga system and have realized the self, the world, and the Supreme Lord, in other words, the Bhakti yogis, those engaged in pure devotional service in Krishna consciousness, can understand how things are taking place. So Srila Prabhupada is talking here about being situated in self-realization. Now, And then so Srila Prabhupada starts with that, the point of being situated in self-realization. And first of all, it is rare, it is not a very common and cheap phenomenon. Here the aspect of rarity brings about the valuable nature of the process of bhakti, that self-realization is not a cheap phenomena, that anyone can speculate and start any trajectory or embark upon any trajectory and can get the result. So sometimes in Shastras you will see the aspect, the thread of rarity is brought about to bring about, or to to bring about the aspect of or to bring about uh, the feeling of being fortunate. Okay, it is so rare and we have got it, that we are so fortunate. Other times Shastras are talking about this or bringing about this message of rarity to highlight that this is something very valuable. It is not cheap. So self-realization is not a cheap phenomenon. Any cheap attempt to uh, uh, any cheap attempt to actually pose oneself or speculate or imagine oneself to be on the platform of self-realization any cheap attempt is not going to work out. Now, it is just a modification of the bodily platform, nothing else. So the platform of self-realization is valuable. This is the point here. If something is of value, we need to preserve it. And it also brings about the sense of responsibility. That yes, it also brings about the sense of commitment because it is very valuable. Now, very interestingly, Prabhupada concludes the purport saying that those who are bhakti yogis, those who are engaged in devotional service, such people, because they're bhakti yogis, because they're engaged in devotional service, then they can only actually be situated on the spiritual platform. So here we understand that what is the meaning of being situated on the platform of self-realization, and the definition which Srila Prabhupada is giving is that okay, situated on the self-realization platform means engagement. So the situation is in terms of engagement. So Jnana Chakshu actually brings about the idea. The idea brings about hope, brings about positivity. One goes out of the box, one is thinking to try out some new trajectories. So that's what an idea does. It starts the it creates motion. It creates motion in a static setting, is it not? So then a person is excited. So, but the idea is not sufficient. Then next step, one needs proper directions, proper strategic directions. That is what Jnana Chakshu also gives, is it not? And okay, which trajectories to take, to be able to manifest that idea. But this is still not complete. The fixity takes place when the manifestation takes place. And the manifestation takes place in engagement, on the plane of engagement. That is the point. So we will see many times the rather the idea is dropped by the mercy of the devotees and the Lord, is it not? That is exactly how one gets the idea, is it not? So how one gets the idea? No. One gets the idea in the association of devotees. The devotees give us the idea, no? You need not reconcile yourself the suffering in this world, but you can elevate yourself to a higher state of consciousness where there is no suffering, no duality. So the idea is that the Shastras are talking about the idea. The devotees give us the idea. Or as the Lord explains in Chaturshloki Bhagavad Gita, Dadami Buddhi Yogam. The Lord gives the idea. Is it not? So that is the idea. And if the living entity tunes himself to the idea and he is attentively taking shelter of the Lord and he is hearing the idea, then the idea is further revealed into proper directions. But the fixity will happen when one follows it. That's why Prabhupada is telling only the bhakti yogis can actually situate themselves on this platform. Otherwise, one has landed up, one is simply hovering on the bodily platform. That means the bodily drives are of now are taking the most important and prominent position. That's basically what is called as simply driving on the bodily platform, and uh, it just takes the cover or the sheath of yoga or spirituality, is it not? It just takes the sheath of the yoga platform, of the name tag yoga. That's all. So that's why Srila Prabhupada is explaining here. That's why Srila Prabhupada is explaining here that uh, one who is not properly situated, such a person will not have any understanding about how things are happening. So that is misinformation. He's misinformed. He doesn't know how things are working out. So his moves are going to be topsy-turvy. And one achieves this. And this platform of misinformation happens. When one is actually giving more priority to his own speculations and to his own. So when one is giving priorities to his own, the mental drives, the bodily drives, then he will be misinformed. He will not understand how things are working. And Lord Krishna explains, Prabhupada translates it as that, okay, these are those people whose minds are not developed. So they don't have much understanding. So we can say that in one sense, now to be able to get a pictorial feel that once one's mind is like raw earth and the ground earth. Nothing can much be done on a ground like that. But when one accepts when one approaches a bona fide spiritual master, when one takes shelter of the bona fide spiritual master and having faith in the bona fide spiritual master and his instructions, one takes shelters of the Shastras and one starts practicing the process. So by this Sharnagati, what is happening is that a whole building is being built up. So when we say that, okay, the Shastras and the association develops our Jnana Chakshu, what is happening is that a whole building is being developed. And when this whole building is being developed, then when one views the reality of 360-degree reality all around, one can have a better picture. because now he is elevated. That building is built up because of Jnana Chakshu. And again, and then this building is built up because of so when there is submission and servitude, then this building is built up with cement. You know, there is speculation. Then this building is built up with is just built up with some temporary materials. Is it not? Yeah, sand castle or tin castle, thatch. It won't remain. It won't sustain. It won't sustain. No, it won't sustain. So we have to understand that yes, every step of Sharanagati, whenever is reinforcing, like that. So that means that our submission and servitude, our commitment and dedication is like reinforced concrete, is it not? One limb of devotional service or one aspect of devotional service we revert to, that becomes reinforced concrete, is it not? Like the morning program. We say, okay, the morning program has to be there. So when we revert to that, then it is reinforced concrete. It elevates us. Now, so that's the point which we can understand here. So now, further the Lord is going to explain that now the further the Lord is going to explain the benefits of Jnana Chakshu. So how Krishna is assisting us at various levels, even on the material level, even on the spiritual level. So yes, even if one is not on the platform of perceiving the soul, still he can experience the benefit of developing this Jnana Chakshu. We will see that the Lord explains in the coming 4 verses. Text 12. Yadadityagatam tejo jagatpasayate akhilam yachandramasi yakcha agno tatejo vidhi mamakam. The splendor of the sun, which dissipates the darkness of the whole world, comes from me, and the splendor of the moon and the splendor of the fire are also from me. The unintelligent cannot understand how things are taking place. But one can begin to be established in knowledge by understanding what the Lord explains here. Everyone can see the sun, moon, fire, and electricity. One should simply try to understand that the splendor of the sun, the splendor of the moon, and the splendor of electricity or fire are coming from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In such a conception of life, the beginning of Krishna consciousness, lies a great deal of advancement for the conditioned soul in this material world. The living entities are essentially the parts and parcels of the Supreme Lord, and He is giving here with the hint how they can come back to Godhead, back to home. From this verse, we can understand that the sun is illuminating the whole solar system. There are different universes and solar systems. And there are different suns, moons, and planets also. But in each universe, there is only one sun. I said it in Bhagavad Gita 10:21. The moon is one of the stars. Nakshatra namaham shashi. Sunlight is due to the spiritual effulgence in the spiritual sky of the Supreme Lord. With the rise of the sun, the activities of human beings are set up. They set fire to prepare the foodstuffs, so they set fire to start the factories, etc. So many things are done with the help of fire. Therefore, sunrise, fire, moonlight are so pleasing to the living entities. Without their help, no entity can live. So, if one can understand that the light and splendor of the sun, moon, and fire are emanating from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, then one's Krishna consciousness will begin. By the moonshine, all the vegetables are nourished. And the moonshine is so pleasing that people can easily understand that they are living by the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Krishna. Without His mercy, there cannot be sun. Without His mercy, there cannot be moon. And without the help of the sun, moon, and fire, no one can live. These are some of the thoughts to provoke Krishna consciousness in the conditioned soul. Yes, so the cosmological understanding can provoke Krishna consciousness in the conditioned soul. A true cosmological understanding can provoke Krishna consciousness in the conditioned soul. That is true. Now it is important to note how this understanding comes about, how to understand. If one can understand, there is so much benefit. That yes, the practice of Krishna consciousness uh, becomes easy. The pathway towards Krishna consciousness becomes visible now, and in that way, the Krishna consciousness becomes easy and practical, is it not? So, how this understanding is brought about, is it not? So, this is a process, interesting process. The first step in trying to, or in an attempt to make this happen, is by acceptance. So understanding begins with acceptance. Understanding does not begin by critiquing. Understanding does not begin by rebelling. Understanding begins by acceptance. So when we accept, yes, the splendor of the sunshine, the splendor of the moon, the splendor of the fire is Krishna. So when we accept this, then what happens? Then what happens? I may say, oh, it's like just, it's just like, you're saying, okay, out of nowhere from the blind, or in the blind, we just accept. So where is the proof? The proof will happen when we accept. That is the point. When we accept. Only when you conduct the experiment will the results come, if the experiment is done properly. If the experiment is not conducted, where is the possibility of the result? Is it not? So the first step is the acceptance that yes, behind the splendor of the sun, behind the splendor of the moon, behind the splendor of the fire, there is Krishna. That is Krishna. So now what result will come? What effect will come when we accept this? So when we accept this, what is going to happen is that the whole cosmos, the whole cosmos becomes the entire cosmos, the entire material world becomes digestible. That's what happens. It's a very important point. That only when we come to this platform of acceptance that yes, here is Krishna, there is Krishna behind this universe. And because there is Krishna behind this universe, there is hope. If I take shelter of Krishna, there is hope. So the entire universe starts making sense. The various aspects of the universe start making sense. One will be able to digest the various situations which are happening in the world around. One will be able to digest the various situations, ups and downs, which happen in one's own life. That means that given any situation, positive or negative, in which a person has landed into, digestion means that he will be able to see what is the right course of action which can continue his progress in spiritual life. What is the right trajectory which can continue his progress in the spiritual life? That is the point, actually. That is the point. The entire life per se starts becoming digestible. We will be able to tolerate and move on. Otherwise, the entire universe in its with all its variety of situations and tribulations uh, is just a ground of agitation for the living entity. Tribulation, agitation, devastation. That's all. But this whole ground becomes acceptable. I mean, the digestible, actually. So only we will see, okay, here is a tough time and here is a problematic time. But actually, everything is control of Krishna. So my existence cannot be devastated like that. So rather than in a cheap way, therefore, rather than in a cheap way, coming up with some frenzied counter action to every kind of tribulation, and in that way getting lost in that mad fight, let me take shelter of Krishna, because that is the ultimate ground on which things can be manipulated and controlled. So one understands that, actually. So just by this point, now you see the vision will become clear. The whole universe will start making sense to us. We will be able to drive. Otherwise, there is deadlock, there is paralysis. Is it not? More analysis, paralysis. But one can always see a clear-cut road driving himself as one goes around, as one goes forward. Is it not? So therefore, we see that there are these two aspects. Is it not? One is a call for action here, and the other is a benefit which is being talked about here. Is it not? The call for action is that, okay, Krishna consciousness will proceed when you accept Krishna as a splendor of the fire, sun and moon. So that is how Krishna consciousness will progress. So this is the call for action. The benefit is that if we just accept, take the first step, then Krishna consciousness becomes easy, because one is able to see the pathway, the trajectory. And when one embarks on that, the experience proves or validates the acceptance. Is it not? That is why the pathway of bhakti is pratyakshaavagamam dharmyam susukam kartum avyayam. Pratyakshaavagamam. One can experience. One can experience. But this experience is always going to follow acceptance. The first step is going to be acceptance. That is the point. Now we can see actually the this verse has another lesson which we can see here in this particular verse is that when one so it is said actually that no, if one accepts God, it's wonderful. And one says, okay, it's very difficult to accept God. Very difficult to accept God. Means how do you? Means how do you relate like that? So then actually, one of the Shastras have explained that to be able to relate with God, if we relate with uh, the oceanic expanse of the material universe, it becomes easy for us to relate with God then. It's just like, okay, the psychologists, give one solution for depression. Okay, if there are people who are feeling depressed. Okay, I mean, your Bhagavad Gita is giving a solution. If you're feeling depressed, you take shelter of Krishna, chant Hare Krishna, you will feel good, you will feel elevated. Is it not? One says no, this is like little, immediately it's not installable. I mean, it's difficult to install. What to do? Then psychologists give another solution. They say, okay, you better go and roam around nature. So you just go and roam around in nature, sit under a tree in the waterfall, see the birds chirping, see the grass, like that, go for mountaineering to the snow-covered mountains, to a campfire, lie down, One is able to come to the mode of goodness, is it not? So the nature is the smile of God, is it not? That's why it's called as nature, is it not? Whose nature? It's Krishna's nature. So just for taking shelter of nature, one comes with senses, one starts understanding, okay, I am insignificant. There is something, there is divinity, there is divinity. Yeah. So things start making sense, is it not? So things start making sense. Therefore, Krishna is telling, so that the point that the splendor is coming from me. So we will see when we interface, the expanse in this way, it becomes easy to accept Krishna consciousness, because it becomes easy to accept that there is a divine force behind, and we can see the effect. It elevates us to port of goodness, is it not? This is true when we actually interface, things in a holistic way. Therefore, it is said that, okay, if you cannot believe in scriptures, as a thumb rule, we can say at least believe in statistics. People say, oh, where is misery in this world? Say, hello, you may have been pampered, you may have been born in a pampered environment where you have not got out of the bed, and your life would have been into video gaming and filming. Therefore, you are not understanding what is the misery, when breakfast, lunch, dinner, everything is coming on the bed. Hello, now you try to get a holistic statistics. So that is why we'll say, okay, at least believe in the world statistics now. Then it becomes easy to understand, oh, yes, there is suffering. People are not happy. Nations are not happy. There is going to be a lot of problems. And so at least believe in statistics of the world. Look at the world around. Is it not just not just narrow it down and pinpoint and say where is the reality of the world? Face the world first. Is it not?